Hi ladies, welcome back to Bernina Club. I'm the last Bernina Club for 2014. So I'm going to show you this wonderful little idea, and it is to make a pincushion that's a little bit funky. So this pincushion is made in the shape of your body basically, and with your notes you're going to get the notes full size, so you don't have to worry about making it any bigger. This is the size it is finished. And you could choose to finish it off with a gorgeous little bobble braid, or maybe you might like to use, I'll show you this one, a bit of gimp braid. And on this one also I've made a flower out of the fabric, and on this one we have got a little lace flower with a dome in the middle, and on the top of that one we have a bobbin, and on the top of this one I raided my son's marble tin because I thought that was really cute, and I used a piece of old tape measure that had got a cut in it for around the waist to emphasize the waist on that particular one. And on this one here, which I will show you, we've got a lovely tassel trim, and it has got a thimble on top, so you can do all sorts of ideas. And we've put that one onto a candle holder, which is very sweet. Now another idea I've just had recently, because we were trying to find lots of different things we could stand them up on, and these are actually containers that we use and we sell our pins on them. So if you want us to hold you one of these, just give me an email, because what you actually do when you're finished them is you have a piece of felt, and also inside it you have this piece of foam. Now we have these pieces of foam for sale, and these are 5mm thick, and it's lovely soft foam, and I purchased a large piece from Para Rubber. But in your notes it shows you what size you need to cut. So what we've done is we've got a piece of foam enough for you to do 2 bases, and it's only 50 cents. So you cut out your piece of foam, and if you're going to want to use it on a base like this, which will cost you nothing for the base, you just need to fold your foam in half and do a snip, and fold it the other way and do a little snip, and then you can simply place this over here and you can put your model on top. So you'll need to do the same to your felt base, which I'll show you, and this is your pattern piece, so you need to cut one of those. And if you're going to be gluing it, which I'll do for the one I'm making, then you need to cut that there, open it out and cut there as well, so that when you have got it finished, that's going to go over there as well. So make sure you do that first. So let us know and we'll hold you one of these next time we sell all our pins out, which is very regularly. Then on the pattern you end up with your 2 sides of your little body, and you end up with a back and a front. So you only need to cut one of each of those dress forms, and then you need to cut 2 of the side ones. So I've done that here. So I have got a back and a front, and it's fairly obvious which is the front, the skinnier one, and the back's wider. And then I have got my 2 side pieces. Now it's very important to put the little cut there, because that's your shoulder seam, and it's fairly obvious, sorry, to see that this is the bust. So that's the front of your mannequin and that's the back. So we'll put that one aside for a moment. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use the 1/4 inch foot. So it's number 37, so I'll just get it and show you. So it's just the little narrow 1/4 inch number 37 foot, and that's going to do a 1/4 inch seam, and that's all you need to do to make your seam correct. If you don't have one of these, then what you want to do is you want to use your number 1 foot, and you want to put your needle position 2 clicks to the right, and that will give you a close enough 1/4 inch seam. Alright, so foot 37 or foot 57 that has the guide. So that's the foot you want to use. you want to set your machine to straight sewing and just 2 length, nice tight length. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put right side to right side, and you're just going to sew from your neck edge all the way around to your shoulder seam, stop there, and then go from your neck edge all the way to your shoulder seam. So you're only doing 1 and 2 seams, okay? And it doesn't matter whether you've got back to front or front to back, as long as right sides are together. Okay, so I'm going to stitch and back stitch at the neck edge. So back stitch, put your needle stop function down if you have one, and use your knee control if you have one. So stop on your curve, lift, turn, go to the end and back stitch, and then stitch. I just turned it over, stitch from the top neck, back stitch, needle down, and turn the corner and go to your shoulder, and needle up, and then clip your threads. You do not need to clip your curves, it's absolutely fine, it's only a narrow curve. Now this is the most important part, and it's how you're going to pin it. So you've got your front here and your back here, and this is your shoulder seam. So you get your front and I'll work out which is the front. I better hold it this way. So there's my bust here, here's my narrow here, so I get my shoulder seam and my mark, and I put a pin in my shoulder seam. So you put 1 pin there. So remember, the front and the bust go together. Now the next thing you do is you put your hem edge together. Alright, so your hem edge together there. You've got your shoulder seams together, and then you're just going to pin your raw edges together. So starting from the hem and pin it, and then 1 more pin to go before you need to go around the curve. So you've got 1, 2, 3 pins. Now everybody says that's never going to fit, but all you do is just roll your raw edges together and it fits like a glove. There is no problem. You don't need to clip it. It just stitches beautifully. It's a very, very good pattern. I found this pattern on the internet, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. Now there you have it. So you think that's never going to fit, and it fits perfectly. You don't pin the second half and you don't sew the second half yet. So you're going to sew from the hem up around here. Doesn't matter the pins are on that side, you can easily just turn it over and take the pins out as you go. Okay, so you're going to back stitch on the base. So forward and reverse. Remember to put your needle stop down back on, and sew to the next pin. Now by having all those pins, when you stitch and have a pin to a pin, it will never stretch past that pin. So that is why you want lots of pins when you're doing this. It will never stretch between those pins for you. It'll make it very, very easy to stitch. So just turn your work, and under here you can move your hand around, move your fabric around with your hand, beg your pardon, so that you won't get any tucks, and it'll just sew beautifully. Needle down, lift and turn, sew to the next pin, then take the pin out, move your work, sew to the next pin, take your pin out, and then up to your shoulder, which is your last curve. Alright. When you get to here, take your pin out and make sure that you forward and reverse at that shoulder. Right, needle up and clip your threads. I'm going to show you this twice because it's very important that you get this right. Oop. Then when you've done that, you've got your other half, and you just simply put the right sides together and pin, put your raw edges together and pin, go up to your waist and pin, right? So you've got 1, 2, 3 pins. Now this is your curvy part again. Just roll your fabric and it will just fit into your curve. Roll your fabric out and it just works. It's quite amazing. It just works perfectly. It's got the right amount of shaping so you don't get any tucks. So just roll your fabric out like that. And roll it down. And this time again, you're sewing from the hem to the shoulder. So have a look, make sure it's sitting nice and flat, and forward and reverse at the base. Needle down. So easy. If you don't have a needle down function, I'll just show you what you'll do. So if you come along here and you don't have a needle stop down function, you just turn the balance wheel and put the needle down by hand, right? So the balance wheel will lift the needle up and the balance wheel will put the needle down. So make sure you put it down before you take the needle out, and that will stop your fabric from moving when you start to sew again. So come up to your needle, put your needle down with your balance wheel and lift and turn. Okay, so it's just an extra step that you may need to do if you don't have needle stop down, but all the modern machines have it, so you don't need to do that. So by having it, it just leaves you 2 free hands for sewing, and it's one less thing you need to worry about. Okay, so when you get to here, you want to move your fabric around, because now you're going to close the gap where you've already started sewing. So you need to go past your sewing stitch and you need to reverse it and then needle up and clip the threads. So I'll show you that again because it's very important to get that bit right. Now when you turn this through, you'll have a really nice curve on the front bust and a really nice curve on the back. Alright, you can pop the neck up, and if you prefer, if you really don't want to have the neck like that, you could actually, and maybe I'll do it on this one, you could actually sew across there and not put anything on the top. So how about we do that this time? We'll just simply sew across that top piece and we won't have anything on our neck, because that is another option. And then when you stuff it, you will actually stuff right up into that neck edge. So if I'm going to do that, I think I would like to clip across those points. So 1, 2, and get rid of the points, all right? So I hadn't done that before, so we'll just do it today. And then you'll just end up with a nice little finish like this. I haven't got my point turner, so I'll just be very careful with these. Don't like using scissors, you can push it out. But we'll just gently do it. Okay, so my top of my neck will end up like that instead of putting something on it. Now, make sure you know which is your back and your front again. So here's my front, the narrower part. And again, get your bust. Oh, right side to right side, nearly did it wrong. At your mark, right side to right side, pin it. Have I got that correct? One moment, please. I think I've cut out 2 going the same way, have I? I'm not convinced that's correct. Got to have a look now. I think I've got 2 busts going the right way, so I need to cut another one. Interesting. Shouldn't have done it so quickly. So I'll just cut out another one. And this time, because that one is going the right way, I need to lay it this way and have it going the opposite way, and then making sure I've got it right, because I need my bust to go that way. Haha, trick for young players. So make sure you cut out your bust going the correct way. So I'll lay that on there like that. I won't use my fabric as a pattern because it might not be correct. So I think I'll go to this flower. I'd like the flower on my bust. The beauty about making these also is you don't really need to have the grain of the fabric going exactly the right way if you're doing 100% cotton fabric. So I'm just using this going the opposite way because it was a scrap of fabric I had, so I don't have to worry. So see ladies, I can make the same mistakes because I cut them all out individually. So now I'll have to cut out another one. Or maybe I could have the sides in that fabric and a plain body. You could do all sorts of things. So obviously I didn't want a bird on mine, so I've cut out my bird. There we are. And again, make sure you cut that shoulder part. It's the most important. Now, do you think I've got it right this time? I really hope so. Yep, it's opposite to that, so we should be all good. So here's my other front. That looks better. So right side to right side at the shoulder seam. Okay, showing you again. So make sure you pin the base first because you never think it's going to fit. So you always go from the hem. And the beauty about putting the pins this way also is you can sew either side when you're ready to stitch. It's very, very good. 3 pins and then I curve it. Oops, that's a crooked pin. We'll throw that one out. So you've got all the fullness here. Now I turn it over. Whenever you're doing something with fullness, you put the fullness underneath, right? So you've got all the fullness underneath so you can roll this and make it fit. So that works for skirts and anything, bust, any part you're doing. You always put the fullness underneath and it will take in the slack when you sew around your curve. Okay, just roll it up. It's just too easy. Don't be scared of curves and don't always cut your curves. A lot of people clip their curves because they're worried, but sometimes when you clip, instead of getting a nice smooth curve, you get a jagged curve. Alright, so just be careful not to clip even when the pattern tells you to, because quite often you do not need to clip. So again, needle stop down if you've got it, and if you haven't, just use your balance wheel. So pins out, and I like to show both sides of this, not just say, oh here I've done the other side, because you really need to do this right and understand it's easy. So as long as you've pinned it correctly, you keep your raw edges together, you can't go wrong. I quite often, when I'm doing something, I'll use a pin and actually hold my work, or a tailor's awl or something like that to make it easier, just so I've got something else to hold my work. And the other thing I will tell you, it's really, really important to make sure that you have taken in enough width. Don't be skimpy with your 1/4 inch seam. Don't do anything narrower because it will just fall apart, because it's all got to be stuffed next. Alright. And so just make sure you do have a 1/4 inch all the way around. Clip that. Now for your last one. Put your last seam together from the hem and repeat that last seam exactly the same way as you've done. It's pretty easy. Lovely, lovely gift for anybody that sews, or for someone that just wants it as a feature in their sewing room or in their home. Some of the ladies thought it might be a really cool idea to make a miniature one that you could actually stand up on this extra thread stand. So you maybe put a straw in the middle so that could fit over the top. It's quite a good idea, and I may even do that for next year. But the problem is I'm always using my extra thread stand, but I quite like the idea. So here's my last one, and I want this to fit in. So remember, turn it over and get all the fullness to go in underneath. And you won't have any problem. You are going to turn it over and stitch from the hem, but to pin it, turn the fullness over so you can pin it correctly. Okay? Oops. roll it down. There we go. Amazing, isn't it? It just fits so well. So from the bottom up. Now the stuffing I've used in mine is just a polyester stuffing, and that's all you need. One of the ladies was a bit worried you might need to put a wool stuffing in there because the pins or needles might go blunt, but you're not going to leave them in there that long. I mean, that only happens if they're left in there for years. So, you know, you're not going to be doing that. You ladies all sew, so you're going to be using your pins all the time. Okay, so bring it round, stitch around that outer edge, take your pin out. On the last one, make sure that you overlap that last seam. So come round, needle down, everything out of the road, and overlap that last seam and reverse. Okay, needle up and cut the thread. So again, make sure your seams are nice and even. And what I mean by that is just go around and make sure you've actually got a 1/4 inch seam all the way around. It hasn't slid under. Now you're going to turn this through, but I do one more step than they did on the internet with the pattern, and that is I take my sew table off and I do a running stitch under here because it makes it so much easier when you're pulling it in. So I put my base around here and I put my stitch length on the longest stitch length I can do, and I just run a straight stitch all around, single layer around the hem edge. And this just makes it very easy for the next step. And you want to make sure you've got a tail so you can pull it up. So stitch around. You could just do this once, it would be enough to pull this up. So you want to meet it where you started, or you could overlap it just a slight piece. Cut that. And now I'll turn the machine off because the rest is gluing. So here's my polyester stuffing. And it's lovely and light and very easy to use. So just grab it and pull it out. We sell these in 250 gram bags and 500 gram bags. So you're just going to push this in here and you're going to put it right up to the top, because remember this one I'm not going to be putting anything on top. Hey, I could still put something on top if I decided later on. Right. And because this one's going to go on a little stand, I'm going to use those pieces I've used for the hole. A little bit cute, isn't it? Love the fabric. And what I'll do is I think I'll use this just to push that wadding right up into that neck part, because I want that quite full. It's actually quite a handy tool. There we go. So push that up. You want it nice and tight. There we go. I love the fabric. That was good, wasn't it? I looked in my stash. Funnily enough, we've got quite a bit here. So you don't need much fabric. If you wanted to buy fabric, out of 25 centimetres, if you had to have it going the right way, you'd get 2 out of it easily. Maybe even 3 if you were very good with your laying it out and not cutting a piece wrong. Oh, she's got a cute little waist, this one. So push this up into those shoulders. Make sure you get it nice and tight. And into the other shoulder. Like that. That looks better. And then up into the waist. And give her a bit of boob so she's not flat chested. That's it. She's very shapely, this one. They all end up a little bit different. I think they're cute. You want to stop stuffing 1 inch from the hem. Alright, you don't want to put any more down the bottom. You want to stop 1 inch from the hem edge because we need to gather it all in. So just maybe one little bit more. Might be too much. We'll just try that maybe. You don't want to overdo it. Let's have a look. Got to get the shape right, so you've got to keep mucking around. Okay, there's the front there. That's cool. And I haven't decided what I'm actually doing on the, as a trim on this one, because this was, I don't know if there will be a trim, I'll just see. I just need some more up here in the shoulder area. She's got very strong shoulders, this girl. Hey, that pops out, that's quite handy. Right, let's get her stuffed. Maybe rickrack might be fun on the base of this one. Right, so is that about 1 inch from the bottom? Then you get your foam. Again, it's 5mm piece of foam, and you slip that inside your mannequin, and then you find your gathering thread, like that, and you just pull the 2 outside pieces and you gather it in. How easy is that to do the hem, the base? So cool. Now, once you've done that, you can just tie those threads just in a knot. So just tie roughly in a knot like that. Cut that off. Now, we need to line this base up with our holes so that we can put this through here. So just make sure you've got that lined up. Yep, and you could obviously get matching felt, but I just happen to have some grey felt. So then all you do is you glue. I take the end of this off because it always goes hard. Yep, always. So just put a little bit of glue on your felt. Oh, a little bit or a lot. I'm just going to wipe some of that off. I've got a lot of glue. It did come out very well. It's obviously been in the sun. One moment while I just very carefully take 99.9% of my glue off. So see, you ladies, you can just relate to this, can't you? Make sure you haven't got glue on your hand, and then place that over top, lining up your perfect. Leave that to dry. Once that's dry, then you're just going to place this right up through here, which is our front. Here we are. And then decide if you want to put a braid around there. So just lay that down, maybe give it a little push. And I'll just wipe my hands with my bit of fabric here. And then make sure that you have got it nice and firm and dry, and then push it onto your stand. And then you can titivate it. Now, you could use this type of thing, which is your fringing, like I told you, or you could just use a little braid, but I think on that one I might use rickrack. So there's a fun, quick, easy project for you girls. And then after the break, I will be showing you how you can use your ideas in sewing on Christmas trees. Alright, so grab yourself a cuppa and then come back and have a look at the second half.